Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Zoom at 8. My name is Julianne Peterson, and I am your host every Tuesday night for Zoom at 8. You know, we have been doing this for 4.5 years. We're going on 5 years in April. So if you are new here, welcome. It is like no other. We visit with industry experts 3 weeks out of the month. We encourage people to come and learn something new. Tonight, we're going to get our 3 experts tonight from Velo Residential to talk to us about property management. There's been a ton of things that have happened over the last couple of years, but specifically this year, that are really impacting the deals. And I want to get you all to understand how to be working with property managers, because we're not all seasoned pros here. I'm excited tonight, as I usually am every Tuesday night here at Zoom at 8, but tonight's guests are a little bit different. We have a very, very good relationship with Velo Residential, both from a personal relationship as well as a professional relationship. So I'm very excited to share with you this relationship. They being the 3 folks tonight, Kelly Stinson, Anselmo Torres, and JC Castillo, are all very good friends of Old Capital. We, provide, context. We push over our clients to them. They do a lot of business with us. So I thought it was most important that we invite them here to really give us a sense of where property management is today, maybe some of the struggles, maybe some of the wins that they're having. So tonight, JC Castillo is here. He is the president and CEO of Velo Residential, a fee-based property management company serving large-scale multifamily owners in Dallas-Fort Worth. JC has spent the last 15 plus years helping multifamily owners and investors profitably navigate the ups and downs of a full cycle real estate market. He's also the founder and principal of Multifamily Property Group, a Silicon Valley-based private equity firm that has owned, repositioned, and operated thousands of apartment units in Texas since 2006. Kelly, who is the director of operations, she fosters collaborative relationships with property owners, stakeholders, and on-site teams to implement innovative solutions to drive income growth and cost savings on multifamily properties. She's committed to excellence and brings a wealth of industry knowledge and proactive approach to operational challenges, positioning the company for sustained success in today's competitive multifamily real estate market. And finally, Anselmo, who is actually the people's sexiest man of the year, he is the director of business development at Velo Residential. He has walked over 500 properties and roughly 40,000 doors over the course of an 8-year period. He is passionate about helping owners and operators and, vendors like myself to make more money with less stress. So I want to welcome all of you from Velo Residential. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us here at Zoom at 8. Before we turn it over to you guys and start our wonderful conversation, if everybody would go up to the right-hand side, top right-hand side, and go to speaker view, we will get to see on your screen, I'm there, hi. But once Kelly or JC or Anselmo shows up, starts to talk, we'll be able to see them live and in person. So JC, welcome to Zoom at 8. I know you're new. You've never been here. So welcome aboard. Glad you were able to set some time aside for us. Let's kick this off, JC, and tell us a little bit about why you chose to open Velo Residential. What was your interest? What was the impetus to doing that? Because that's a big responsibility.
Well, first of all, Julie, thanks a lot for hosting us. And you're right, we are very good friends with the Old Capital family, and we've been together for many, many years. And we really appreciate you having us on tonight. My passion really rests with helping multifamily owners and helping multifamily investors make more money with less stress. And it also revolves around giving residents an experience, a living experience that they can really love. I mean, the residents are our customers, right? So, I mean, ultimately what we do at Velo Residential, and really the core of what we do, is we rescue multifamily owners from bad property management. And there's a whole lot of rescuing that needs to be done these days. So we are super excited to be here and would love to be a source of information and help for anybody that needs it.
Great. So Kelly, why don't you tell us a little bit about what markets you're in? I know you said Dallas, Fort Worth. In the past, you've been in other markets. What you're focusing really on Dallas and Fort Worth. Is that right? Dallas, Fort Worth.
Yes. So today we are focusing on the DFW Metroplex, as well as the expanding market in Tyler, Texas, which for those that are not based here in DFW, Tyler is a submarket that is about 2 hours east of downtown Dallas.
And are you looking in between those two markets as well? Where do you like to spend your time focusing on, and will you be open to taking on other assets in other markets?
Yeah. So we want to own the backyard in DFW. This is where our headquarters is. This is where we feel that there's the biggest opportunity with, as JC shared, rescuing property owners from bad property management. So at this time, we want to make sure that we are absolutely solid in our on-site team members, the network of bench candidates for on-site team members, because those team members are going to make or break your investment, right? They're really the heartbeat of your property. In addition to that, ensuring that we have the right network solidified of service providers. So we are very selective about those markets that we will work in. So we want to predominantly at this time stay focused in DFW. We're completely open to expanding in Tyler. And anything in between DFW and Tyler, if it's the right fit, we're certainly open to discussing it.
So the right customer, the right size apartment, what are the units that you're targeting, and what do you want from that client that makes it the right fit?
Yeah. And Selmo, you want to jump in on this?
Absolutely. For Velo Residential, I think our target is anything that's in the DFW Metroplex that can really sustain a full-time property manager and a full-time maintenance staff. So typically that's anywhere between, let's just say, 80 to 100 units and above. That's really kind of our space, as well as B and C class properties here in DFW. We are open to A class, but B and C class is really where we're really good at.
So when somebody is just starting out, we really want to hear from the team. What are the right questions? What are the wrong questions? What do you want to hear from our investors? I have experience, I don't have experience, because the right customer is probably somebody who has experience, right? I mean, it's hard to work with new investors. So some of the things that we have found listening to a lot of our investors is they don't have a good sense of what is a realistic expectation. We got into all of these bridge loans, and so many people, jumped into multifamily over the last 3 years. And I don't think there was a very good set of expectations that were presented to them, because they came from, hey, I've got all this money coming in, and I think I've been doing maybe some single family. I really want to get you guys to paint the picture of what is a realistic expectation for what a property manager can do. Is the expectation set at the very beginning, before you get into the deal, before the LOI? So kind of walk us through the process and some of the questions that people should be asking, whether it's Velo or it's another property manager?
Well, I'll start because usually that's where I get involved, Julie. One thing that I love about new investors is they're curious. They ask a lot of questions at the very beginning. So I encourage everyone to really, whatever market you're interested in, go after a couple different property management companies in that market and interview them. Find out whether or not you guys would be a good fit when that time does come to move forward on a property. So, understand, hey, what types of properties are they really good at? Is there a unit count that they're really good at? Who would be your point of contact to engage with once a property makes sense on your end? Something that we mentioned is that the property management company you choose can make or break your investment, and that's 100% true. So it's important to spend a lot of time up front, not only vetting the property management companies in that market you're interested in, but also partnering and building a relationship with that one or two that you do choose to move forward with once that time does come.
Fantastic. Kelly, anything to add to that?
Yeah. And Summa was spot on with his points. Whether you are a seasoned GP or you are new getting into this, we think that it is very important that you interview those different management companies and see what the differences are, right? And see where the partnerships are going to align best. It's not just about what is your property management fee, right? It's about the KPIs. How is your management company going to measure the performance on your property? What does the communication look like? Like if you send an email into your property management company, does it go into the black hole and you're constantly having to follow up? Seriously, this is like entering into a marriage. It is life-changing. And just as much as our owners are interviewing us, we are interviewing them also, because what's really important for us is that we have a solid partnership with good lines of communication where our owners are going to help set us up with the tools and resources that we need to go execute their business plan, right? So if I call you, if I call an owner at, Friday at 7:30 at night, I'm probably not calling you just to say, hey, what do you have on the deck for the weekend? I'm calling you because I've tried to solve that problem on my own within our team's ability, and I need to escalate something, and I need a response, and I need the support, right? So it's really important that we have those respectful conversations and the open lines of communication.
So if we were to outline what is the perfect client for you, the perfect customer for you that you're looking for, what would that look like?
One that can cover their debt service.
That would be a number one, would be great, right?
No, seriously. One that is open-minded, okay? Where when we're navigating different economic climates, which this year has been one like no other, right? We are having to analyze the market on a much more consistent basis than we have previously. And we're having to have many more difficult conversations. And this is a collaborative environment when you work with Velo. You need to, as owners, we want you to roll up your sleeves with us. We're going to come to you with the suggestions and the recommendations, but we need you to be open to being uncomfortable and maybe test something new with us that we're going to bring forward. Because what we're finding is our owners that are open in that communication, and it's a two-way street. They may come to us with some recommendations, vice versa. that we're going out, we're testing things and building things, and we're measuring different approaches for lease up, for income growth, right? As we're navigating, through this particular market. And that has proven to be very successful. And you can see easily from our side, on the property management side, you can see easily those ownership groups who are very comfortable with, all right, I'm listening. All right, let's go. Let's check it out. Let's try it. What do we have to lose? Right. And then we have those that are still operating from the 80s. Right.
You know what I love about your team is JC comes from the operations side of the business. He knows how to manage these properties. And I think there's a lot of people out there. And I know when I was in single family, I did a much better job. I was owning and operating my own assets. JC, he is separated from, he has his own business, but JC, this is for you. What was one thing that you said, I can do this better? Or that you always kind of were challenged with, that said, when I get older and I have my own business as a property manager, this is what we're going to do. What was it that it was for you, JC, that said, I can do this better?
Well, Julie, you really have to, in this business, if you want to be successful in third-party management, you really have to have a servant's heart. You really have to be committed to helping people, whether it's going to be clients or it's going to be the residents or it's going to be your staff. I mean, you just really have to be a person that's going to look at a problem and say, look, what tools does my team need to go out there and win? What tools does my client need to go out there and make money? What things I need to do for my resident to have a great, safe living space. If you truly care about that, and I think that eventually you do become successful. I've been doing this for a very long time, 15 plus years, and thousands of units that I've owned and operated and managed, built out my own management company from scratch. And the one thing I can tell everybody here tonight that's looking to become a good operator, a good successful apartment owner, is that you really have to understand that the property is going to be made or broken based on the quality of your on-site staff. Mm-hmm. Your on-site team is the magic behind everything that happens. It's not JC, it's not Velo, it's not Kelly, it's not Anselmo. It's the people that are at your property that are servicing your residents, who are paying your rents, who are making your properties profitable. If your on-site staff are motivated and they're well taken care of, and they have all the back office support that they need to be successful, and they can go and they can love on your residents and have the time to have a conversation when they walk into the office and not be stressed out with a million phone calls coming in, those people are going to be able to really make your property super profitable. Conversely, if you don't think about your employees or your on-site staff, which, by the way, as a multifamily owner, you actually have employees. You may think that you hire a management company who employs your staff, but these are your staff, and you need to be concerned about their well-being, because if you're not, it's going to be a revolving door of dissatisfied employees, and your property is going to go into a tailspin, and you are not going to make money. In fact, you may lose a lot. So keeping your eye focused on what you're doing for your employees is very critical. Keeping your eye focused on the management company in terms of how they're taking care of the on-site staff. What sorts of processes and structures are they coming up with to offload the back office work from their on-site staff, right? If your on-site staff are constantly having to pick up the phone and answer a million calls that are coming in about prospective residents wanting to ask a bunch of questions, do they really have time to take care of your existing residents who, if your property is 90 or 95% occupied, it's like focusing on the 5% that's not there and ignoring the 95% of the money that's coming into your boat. I mean, it's just not smart business. So how you're taking care of your staff and how you are taking care of their well-being as people, right? I mean, Richard Branson has a great quote. I love it. He says, "Clients don't come first." He said, "Employees come first, because if
Yeah.
you take care of your employees are going to take care of your clients." And that is exactly, I think, the problem that most multifamily owners and management companies miss, is that the real magic behind any success that I've ever had has always been having great staff. And also, a lot of the problems that I've had when properties haven't performed have been not really taking care and focusing on the on-site staff.
I think that's a great point. And I think that there has been a huge challenge this year with the costs of payroll, that a lot of these, your staff people or other property management, are being wooed to other companies. You know, our payroll has gone from 500 to 900 to 1800. We've got some payroll that's at 2500 in Florida. And so I think from an investor's position, I think it's always good to hear, what are you guys doing to have retention with your employees? I think that's, are they given stocks? Are they given, well, what are you empowering them to say, no, I want to stay here? It's not all about the money. It's about the environment. It's about the support. What do you see? And I don't mean to this to be just for you guys, but when our investors, our general partners, are looking for the right fit, what are the questions that they should be asking? How are you guys taking care of your staff? So what are some of those questions that they can be asking?
Julie, I want to let Kelly and Anselmo answer your question, but I want to take a second to say something about what you mentioned. And this is extremely important for all of you multifamily owners or aspiring owners out there. Is, post-COVID, we've really had a shift in the way the world is seen by people who are in the services business. Restaurants, hotels, multifamily properties where there's on-site people every day. During the pandemic, remember that maybe you had a work from home job, maybe you were at a computer working from home, or you were a doctor or whatever you were doing. These multifamily on-site staffers were going into their properties, and they literally didn't know if they were going to die from getting sick by somebody. I mean, can you imagine the sort of stress that our people were under and during those dark days? And everybody knows what the pandemic did. So as we're coming out of the pandemic, what you're starting to see, and I believe this is going to continue to be the case, you're seeing services businesses struggling to have people that are willing to work in the business. And as a result, because everybody wants to work from home, everybody wants to have a job where they don't have to go into the office every day and save time commuting. Think about it. Your on-site staff are driving to work every day right now with gas prices as high as they are. Mm-hmm. They're exposed to all these things that during the pandemic could have killed them. It's actually quite natural that we're going to have to pay people a lot more to do these sorts of jobs. And we're going to have to do everything we can to make their lives better in order for them to want to continue to work in that job, because it ain't an easy job. Mm-hmm. And so if there's anything that you guys understand going forward, is that if you are not understanding how this market is shifting and how these post-pandemic feelings are changing the way people are working and wanting to work, you're really going to be behind the eight ball. We have to be concerned about their welfare now, because they don't want to come work for these jobs unless we're making it a lot of fun and we're paying them a lot more money. And that it is what it is. So be prepared for that. And the people that are smart are going to take advantage of being a servant to these people. And you're going to be able to retain the greatest talent and have the most success.
Love it. The servant heart is so important in so many areas of our lives these days. We really want to make sure that people are knowing that you care about them. It's just not throwaway anymore. It's really about the heart of people. Kelly, do you have any other comments about retention, or what are the questions that we should be asking the property management company of, I want to make sure that your staff is not moving every couple weeks, every couple months. What are you guys doing to resolve that or to help?
So this is such a great topic, because finding quality candidates and retaining those assets are critical. And what we have found here at Velo is really dissecting each of the roles on each of the properties and finding ways to make their job easier and to allow them to be happier in their role. So a perfect example, right, would be talk about invoices. You know, think about how many invoices come in on, a 120 unit property or even a 60 unit property, right? From all of your service providers, your make ready contractors, any of the licenses that are out there. I mean, you could easily have 30, 40, 50, maybe more invoices per month. Imagine all those invoices stacking up every month on the property manager's desk. And they have to enter those into the system so that accounting can process and pay them, right? That is very time consuming and it's exhausting. So looking at those particular administrative tasks that are not a good ROI for that property manager or for you as an owner, and being able to remove those burdens off of the property manager's shoulders and delegate those to other dedicated team members who, on the accounting side are well-versed in the proper classification of, of your service contracts or your make-ready supplies, right? How many times do we see resurfacing coded above the line when technically you could code that below the line and run that through, CapEx, right? So evaluating that, looking at your maintenance team, right? Building a better maintenance team. This is something that's a very hot topic for us right now because coming to the table with solid maintenance team members is really important for resident retention, right? Just as important as your community director, because your residents are going to make a decision on whether or not they're going to renew their lease, dependent upon how they're treated at the property and how quickly their service requests are serviced, right? So with that, asking the maintenance team members, those uncomfortable questions, right? What do you dislike the most about your position? What are the tools that you are missing to be successful, right? We may think we have some great ideas at the corporate level, but if we don't ask the questions, if we don't open up that communication with the on-site team, we may be going down the direct, the wrong path directly. So as new investors, as, seasoned general partners, I sincerely encourage you to be asking your regional managers, your VP of operations, anybody out there, what are you doing to improve the performance of your on-site team members and their level of happiness?
It is all about happiness. It seems it's a grind for a lot of people. And I love that idea.
Julie,
So
can I add
Yeah,
something to that too?
please.
So like anybody that's reaching out to a property management company, part of making sure that your staff is happy is making sure that you have a good payroll number in there and something that's usually verified by a third party, right? So, some of the spreadsheets or, formulas that I've seen are a little light on payroll because that's what it takes to make the number work, right? But ask, hey, what do you need as a property management company to hire great talent to execute my business plan?
Yep.
That's a very crucial question to ask.
I love it. Now, I am going to ask this. I was going to ask it later, but I think it's a good timing because I think, let's face it. You guys can make or break a deal, as Kelly, you said. Why are we only paying you 3 to 4% to make this deal go? Where do you guys see the market moving forward? Do you see that we're going to increase those rates from 3 to 3.5? I know we see some 3.5, but are you going to go 3.5 to 4 or 4 to 4.5? Where do you see the market? What is a realistic expectation? Because if we can't get good talent and we continue to see this be a 3% or 2.75, I just recently saw, we're going to continue to have bad buildings out there and no one's going to be happy, and it's just going to continue to roll in this crazy world that we live in. At least make somebody's house a home. What do you guys speculate on where the market's going to go for property management?
So, Julie, are you asking specifically in like the fee of property management?
Yes.
Okay.
We see a lot of 3,
2
we
point,
see a lot
yeah.
of 4. Okay. And this is 100. This is based on what you guys are looking at, 80 units to 150 to 200.
Mhm.
You're looking at 3, 3.5, maybe 4.
Mhm.
Do you see your crystal ball say, I see this increasing? I see that we have to be able to pay our staff better. Who's going to be the first one to do it, though? That's the question. So what do you see the trend?
Yep. So I can tell you, or share with you from Velo's perspective is we don't have just a flat rate across the board.
Mhm.
And here's why this is important. We're actually analyzing the performance of the property at the beginning of the underwriting, as well as the pro forma that we're putting in. And then we understand from our side what type of investment we need to make from a corporate level, as well as from the on-site level, to deliver and exceed the business plan. Okay. So depending on what that looks like, it might be 3.5%. It might be 3%. It might be 4%, right? And you need to open up that conversation. If you are having a conversation with a management company that just says, hey, every property out the door, it's 3%, you're going to get what you pay for. So if it's 3% and the income isn't coming in, because that's how the management companies make their money, right? Is off of the income of the property, then what do you think they're going to do? They're going to start taking shortcuts at the corporate level and the oversight on your property. And when you start taking shortcuts, that's where you're going to lose the money. So we take a completely different approach, and Selmo, runs through a very deep qualification process on any property that we are evaluating. And just on the property, and also, with the ownership groups as well. And if those two aren't going to mirror up on, a mutually beneficial partnership, then we're going to politely ask. We're going to say thank you, but not this time.
What I keep hearing is that it's a partnership. And I think that is a failed thought process for a lot of general partners and investors. As if you are having to serve people, this is what you're going to do for me. It is a partnership, everyone. You need to recognize that. It's so important. Again, it goes back to respect and making sure that your partner is taken care of. It's not all about your investors. It is a partnership. So with that, I want to switch now to talking about bridge loans, because they are significantly impacting what you guys are doing as property managers. You're having to do a lot of draw requests, having to manage all of that, manage expectations, which I think is a huge issue in today's market. What is realistic? What can you get done in a reasonable amount of time? And I bring that to your attention because a lot of your owners, whether it's Velo or it's another property management company, we're all trying, who have the bridge loan on your asset currently. You've got a timeline that you need to exit. You need to do this renovation and you need to exit, whether that exit is going to be a welcomed exit or it's going to be, how do we get out of this and not fail? Okay. And a lot of this, people are saying, oh, it's my property manager. Oh, they failed me. When in the reality, friends, it is about the debt that was put on it, and maybe your expectations of what is realistic and how much it can get done. This is not the fault of a property manager with the rent increases. They're pushing the asset as much as they can. So from your position, if you could speak to me and our audience here, when you've got a property owner that says, hey, I know we can raise rents. You told me we could raise rents 200. I have it here. And now we're having to come up with 100. How are you managing those conversations, the expectations, and how are you moving forward with them to get out of these loans? It's a hot topic, and I think it would be really helpful for you to give us some insight on that.
Yes. The first thing that that I'd like to convey on this is you got to trust the process. Okay. Trust the process. And here's where I have seen relationships deviate from the plan is when the owners are not trusting the process. But just like, things are different with Velo, but let's say you're with another management company, right? Trust the process, but then verify the process through data also, right? So how are you measuring the performance on that business plan? So we may have been pushing, all renewals to be pushed to market rent earlier this year, right? That was it. That's what our plan was. But now we're coming in on the back end of the year. The seasonality is hitting us head on. The leasing rates of the peak season in the summer is at the lowest that it's been since pre-COVID, and we should be trending better, but we're not. So what are we doing to retain, right, those residents? And it's important that when your management company is coming to you with the suggestions, and they need to come forward proactively, right, is that they're bringing a plan to you, but they're bringing the data forward to support that plan. And then keep it simple, right? 3 basic action items, simple steps. We want to, create a mission, right? What's your mission? If your property is in 90% today, that's fantastic. But let's just say you're sitting at 85%, you need to get to 90%. We're going to achieve 90% by this date because of this, by doing this, right? And you're going to measure it. You're going to have your 3 steps. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to implement these paid ads. If you're implementing paid ads, that's not just the magic button. What paid ads are your comps doing? And if your comps are on, let's say, apartments.com, what level of paid ads are your comps on? Because if your comps are on Gold Plus, but you're going to take the cost-effective approach to enter in at Silver, guess what? You are just flushing the money out or, down the toilet, right? It just doesn't make sense. Run the analysis, and your management company should be coming forward with that. So again, trust the process and then verify it through your KPIs.
And
Great
Julie,
point.
I'll add too is, doing a market comp analysis. Anything that was done 6 months ago probably isn't valid now. So, having your property management company do a market comp analysis so that when I'm going to you and say, hey, Julie, I know we said we were going to push 1,500, but the market, our 4 comps, none of them are getting that. Here's what the new market rent is, right? So it's having that data set to justify what we're going to be pushing. Because if we're not doing that, residents are doing that. Residents they're thinking way ahead right now, right? They're being impacted. So they're doing their market research. They're finding the best deal. So it's up to us to get together, put together the data, present it to you.
So what's the reasonable amount of time that you would ask your property manager to run those that data? Is it every quarter? Is it every 6 months? Is it every year? I mean, I think that, everything is moving so quickly. We're seeing it almost on every 6 weeks, every 3 months? What are you guys finding?
We right now have implemented every month, once a month.
Okay.
We're running that now. Very deep dive, full analysis. We typically will run that on a quarterly basis, right? But from the high level to really check on what are the move-in fees, right? What are all of the monthly, fees? Because this property down the street may have just added a cable package, right? So now all the additional monthly income is going to be more. What promotions are they running? Because the promotions, these look and lease specials, are changing week to week. So we actually have some properties where our regional manager has asked for the property manager to be checking on those comps on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And we're capturing that data. So I would say at this time, in this type of market that we're in, your regional managers and your property managers need to be running those comps on a monthly basis to ensure that you're not missing the mark.
Great. Now, again, we're talking about bridge on a lot of these deals. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of stress. What is a reasonable amount of conversations in a month? You would say, hey, we're going to sign up for a weekly call. I don't need to hear from you every day. What is reasonable?
That is a great question. So at Velo, the property is not stabilized. If it's new to Velo, if it's not stabilized yet, we are hosting weekly calls. Okay. Those are weekly calls with the regional manager, and the property manager is participating as well, because it's really important for them to be involved in these conversations at this time. If additional conversations are required, offline throughout the week, we will work to accommodate that. The property is stabilized. I think at that point, it's still very, very important to have the cadence of an owner call. And I feel confident that bi-weekly is the right cadence for that, because not only as owners are you involved in that, but you're also being good stewards for your LPs, right?
Yeah.
Overseeing that investment. That's something that, on the Velo side, I love working with asset managers. I love, and even with those ownership teams that don't have dedicated asset managers, I really love just having the ability to have the open dialogue, go through the property performance, review those open action items, get our plan moving. Here's what we're going to do over the next week. And then we come back, right?
Yeah.
And we go, we did this, we're still working on this.
Fantastic. Hey, Anselmo.
That's a great question to ask your property management company too. Is like, hey, what's that cadence look like?
Yeah.
Are we going to have a weekly meeting, or are you just going to send me reports? And what do those reports look like?
Don't bother me, right?
Exactly. I love that about what JC has created here at Velo is our KPIs that we send out on a weekly basis are based off of what he felt was important to him as an owner, so that he could get a quick pulse on his property. Perfect. Without having to dig into another Excel spreadsheet and trying to draw out the data you're looking for.
Well, so, and I that was my next question, and it was for you. I want to know, and real quickly on this, because we're almost wrapping up here. KPIs. Everybody has some different ideas, and I love that JC took his experience, and this is what we need. There are other people that say, no, I need this. Is that reasonable? Is that something that, you would want to ask the property manager, hey, this is an owner say, this is really important to me, where you would say, I understand it's important to you, but this is what we're providing you. And we feel that there's more value in it than maybe what you're providing or looking for. How does those conversations go? Because it's, you guys are the experts, and you have somebody who's not an expert telling you how to run your business or run my business for me. Tell me about the KPIs. How does that conversation go? And do you have specifics that this is what we're going to do for you? Help me understand that.
I love that. I love that question. Number one, have the conversation in the beginning when you are looking at the deal, right? Start having that conversation with your management company that you're working through the deal with. If your management company is not asking you what is important to you, then they're in it just to serve, then they may be in it just to serve themselves, right? We as an organization have evolved with our KPIs because of the lessons that we have learned and also from feedback from our ownership groups. That's not to say that we're going to make a change on all of our KPIs moving forward, but I think that it's important for us to understand why is that important to you, and maybe maybe the data is already there. It's just not in the format that you want to see it, and we can come up with a mutual agreement. But it is really important for us to share with you in the beginning, hey, these are the KPIs that we measure. What is important to you, right? So that we can gear around that, because we do have some ownership groups that have like very, very large portfolios across the country, right? So they have to have like a centralized dashboard where everything feeds in. So while our KPI data is beneficial for them, they find a lot of value in it, there's some additional components that they're also measuring. And we have teams that are supporting with being able to pull that data and deliver it to them on a weekly basis.
Love it. You're really hitting a lot of great points. So let's go to where we see the market. We've had a lot of things in the last 3 years. Okay, it's got to be gray, and we got to have LVP, and we got to have rubs, and we got to have valet trash, and we've got to have EV chargers and Wi-Fi and water conservation and solar. What are you seeing? Are you seeing gray going to brown? Where is that going? Are people just trying to survive right now, so there isn't a trend that we're seeing? What are your thoughts? Let's hear from JC. What are you seeing in your market, in your properties? What are you doing on your, just for you?
Yeah, what we're seeing right now is we're seeing a lot of stress in the market due to rising expenses, and that includes interest rates that have spiked. That includes payroll going up. That includes insurance, which is a huge cost, which is going up like gangbusters. Property taxes, and at the same time, right now we're seeing a very flattening rental growth market. So rents are maybe even flat, in some cases possibly even declining right now. Yeah. So you have all these expenses that are going up. You have income that's staying the same. And so what that's forcing everybody to do is really to focus on revenue preservation as opposed to revenue growth. So resident retention is becoming super critical, and spending $10,000 to upgrade a unit when you can't get much of a return for it right now is not such a great investment. And so you're seeing a lot of people putting a pause on major CapEx projects, especially related to unit upgrades, because they're not seeing the ROI on them right now. So the smart money right now is really focusing on giving a really good functionally good unit, but maybe keeping it a little bit more classic, and focusing on the experience for the renter, as opposed to all of the, the bells and whistles with the, stainless steel appliances and the brand new carpet or flooring or whatever you want to do. And so I think you're going to see that next year is going to be a huge focus on that, resident retention, conserving dollars, not putting a whole bunch of money into unit upgrades, and keeping a real functional property with which gives a great living experience, but may not have all the bells and whistles. That, yes, I think is where you're going to sort of survive. I think these next several months, and then work into a better economy where it would make more sense to start to continue and restart the upgrades.
Makes sense. I mean, I really feel that that's a true statement. And I love the experience that the resident has. I think that's a really key piece. And you mentioned about keeping people happy. It is, our focus has really changed from the 70s and 80s, which was grind, 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 and beat your people and, work as hard as you can. I don't think that's what we're looking at. Kelly, do you have any other thoughts on and additional ideas on what you're seeing, or is it's in parallel, I'm assuming?
It is absolutely in parallel to JC's comments. I mean, we are in, the situation right now, the old, hashtag, the motto of survive to 25, right? So we really have to take a realistic approach with each property, and especially as you're underwriting new properties. Does it make sense right now to run full upgrades with hard surface countertops, stainless steel appliances, right? You may want to slow down that, the full platinum upgrade package, and, just go in with really nice resurfacing of the countertops, right? Change out the flooring, carpet, is that can breed, other pest issues, right? And your paints, we are starting to see a shift in the paint colors, right? From the gray, we're actually now going back a little bit to the browns, right? That I'm surprised to see that so soon. But I don't think right now that it makes sense to come in and take over a property and just run full upgrades on every unit. You need to have various types of inventory available for your applicants that are coming in, right?
Love it.
Know the market.
You guys are fantastic. Now, my question to you is, what is the opportunity in 2024? We've heard, we've got the experience, got to love your people, got to make relationships with your property managers. What's the opportunity? Do you see from a investor standpoint? Is it going to be digging in? And I know JC kind of pinpointed this, is to, get your expenses dialed in. Do you guys see that there's going to be a lot of inventory coming? I know you don't have a crystal ball, neither do I. What do you guys see? What is bubbling in your area? What do you think there's going to be a lot more people defaulting? What do you think, JC?
I think there's a really huge opportunity to use technology to reimagine the multifamily experience for clients and also for residents. And I think that the way that we go about providing an experience to our owners and the way that we go about providing a great experience to our residents is really going to be a huge difference maker. There's a lot of interesting technologies that we're leveraging today, and many more on the way that we're looking at that are going to fundamentally and exponentially increase the great experiences that our residents are having, and also that our ownership are going to enjoy. And so we want to be right at the forefront of how we're leveraging those things to, again, make our owners more money and give our residents a better living experience. I mean, if we can continue to hit on those two things, I think that we're going to be really successful. So look out for technology, and also look out for quality of staff. Staff are so critical to the success of your properties more than ever, especially in this challenging economic time. If you don't have a really great and motivated on-site staff, your property can go down the toilet bowl even faster than it would in good times. So be very aware of that as well.
Can you give us one example of technology?
Sure. We leverage an artificial intelligence bot called Lisa. Lisa is actually an AI leasing agent. Every single one of the properties that we manage, none of the phone calls for incoming prospects get answered by the on-site staff. We actually have an AI bot that picks up the phone and will start having a natural conversation with the prospect over text as soon as they hang up, and will, with the objective of booking a tour a physical tour where they will come in and they will come and visit with one of our on-site staff who will then take that showing and then nurture that person into a lease. So that AI bot is here and it's been in use, and we are successfully delivering that technology to not only actually answer 24/7 any prospect, whether in a traditional sense, if an on-site leasing agent is home, that prospect calls in at 9 o'clock at night, it's going to voicemail. With our technology, 9 o'clock at night, we're booking a tour. 1 o'clock in the morning, we're booking a tour. So that money is going to be turning over at your property a lot better. And so that's the type of stuff that we're looking for, because the other bonus is that imagine if you were at a leasing office or at a multifamily property and you're getting tens and 20s and 30s of calls, every few hours into your property of a prospect. You're going to lose your mind. How can you even focus on anything else with the phone ringing off the hook? We have complete quiet from that perspective at our properties, so we can really focus on taking care of our residents. So there's also a side benefit to that as well. That's one example of technology and how it's changed how we're going to market.
Love it. Really great example. All right. Words of wisdom. I want to hear, Kelly, your words of wisdom, being a property manager, what kind of information that you think is so important for our listeners to know about property management going forward, how to ask questions. What is your, all wrapped up in one?
Do your research and trust the process. I think that is really important. Do the research.
Great. Anselmo,
It's a partnership. It's 100% a partnership. And you have to, again, do your research on that property management company. Make sure that they're the partner you want to move forward with.
Love it. JC, bring up the end here. Give us a kaboom. What is your words of wisdom as a property manager, as an owner, moving forward? What do you have for everybody?
You got to put your residents first, and you got to make them happy and take care of them, because everything else is going to happen after that. Sometimes it's really hard because you're having a rough year and maybe a boiler goes out and you're tempted to, maybe let it sit for a couple days, but you may have some short-term benefits to that, but you're really just going to suffer because your residents are going to feel like they're not being taken care of and they're going to take their business elsewhere. So, you really have to be focused on serving. Again, have a servant's heart in this business. And long-term, if you take that approach, you may have some speed bumps, but I'm almost positive you're going to make a whole lot of money and you're going to be very successful.
Love it. This is the heart and soul right now of Velo Residential. You guys have heard it. You've heard from their hearts. They really want to be a servant to your business. If, Anselmo, someone wanted to make contact with you, how would they find you? What would be the best way to reach out and have a good conversation?
So you can go to our website. That's one way. You can schedule a consultation. It'll book an appointment with me and Kelly, and we can talk and have that conversation and see where we might be able to work together. So that's one way. You can also connect with me via LinkedIn on Anselmo Torres III. I'm very active there. I'll also share my email address and my phone number in the chat.
So for those people that cannot see the chat, can you give us an email that they could reach out to you?
Yes. So it's my first name dot last name. So Anselmo.Torres@veloresidential.com.
Fantastic. I think I want to open it up real quickly. We're over time, but this has been such a wealth of information. I know that there's probably people that have some questions here. So let's see. Open it up. Paula, you're usually, Candace. Candace got to you before Paula. Candace, what's your question?
I have a question about when you're interviewing potential tenants. I was just having a conversation today about I know that you do the virtual tours. Are you always hands-on and transitioning a potential tenant into lease, or the automation process that I hear about? I was just having a conversation with a client who's into real estate and was saying that the automation, a lot of people are working scammers and they're getting into apartments, and then therefore you've got your whole eviction process, which is in these times very crucial. So could you, I know you touched on, do you just do walkthroughs with hands-on? Have you always done that? Could you kind of touch on that process?
And maybe how it's changed.
Yeah. Great question. So there is definitely a big increase in fraudulent applications. Okay. For us implementing Lisa, our AI bot, she is there to support in removing some of that frustration and burden that property managers feel today of answering so many phone calls, right? Her sole purpose is to help answer questions, book the tours. The tours, in our opinion, at this time, should still be managed face to face, right? Now, having the additional technology of maybe like a company like Rently, where you can do the self-guided tours, that provides a great benefit to capture those showings for when your leasing office is closed. Maybe the guests follow through, can only tour your property on a Sunday. I don't know very many leasing offices that are open on Sundays. Okay. So having that leadership with your property manager and the prospect through the showing really helps to, qualify and get to know those applicants through the process, right? And see, ask them those questions before they actually submit their application, if they qualify verbally before we actually verify it on paper.
It's a big topic for retention,
Yeah.
right? And for getting the right people in the right doors. So I think it's a lot of experience that goes into this.
Yeah.
And again, it's heart and soul, All right,
Yeah.
anybody else? Paula, do you have a
Yes,
question?
ma'am. I have a question with regard to what JC had said, which was so interesting about the functional upgrades that, if we're looking, forward to a possible further downturn in the economy next year, and you're an owner and you're saying, okay, what can we do? What is possible? Okay, so that's a partnership. We would ask the property manager what we can do. Now, we also don't want to just push rents, because all newbies push rents. And so, we're thinking of, okay, what upgrades can we do? What are the most valuable to clients versus what isn't? In your opinion, guys, do you think a tech upgrade is that important to someone at this point in time with the economy the way it is?
Great question.
Like a smart system to enter the home and Nest. I mean, is that really a value add for people that are just trying to pay rent?
JC, what do you got?
I think it really depends on the property. I think that if you've got a newer asset, and we do have some newer assets under ownership, and it makes a lot of sense to upgrade the units, and we do see a lot of positive feedback from it. We're actually able to generate some additional revenue for it, so it sort of pays for itself over time. And the other advantage that I think that is not talked about is that it makes the maintenance lives a lot easier, because you can get into the property without having, you've all seen, a maintenance guy's toolbox, or a shed where he's got all the keys. He's got, you got a 200 unit property, you got 200 different keys he's got to take care of and manage and make copies of and stuff. And so all that stuff actually gets eliminated with an upgraded. Now, having said that, I think that it's a huge expense that doesn't need to be done to have a successful property. So in my opinion, in this market, if it's something that you feel like you're on the fence on, I'd say don't do it. If you have a newer property that could benefit and you could charge some more fees and actually get it, then maybe it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Dinesh.
I see. I think if the interest rates go down, a lot of tenants are going to move to, they are holding up right now, but they are going to buy houses, move into houses. At the same time, we might see increased vacancy. So my question is, what kind of tools, it could be advertising, marketing, technology? What kind of tools you are using to fill up these vacancies, vacant units?
Kelly.
Yeah. So it varies by property, as well as market. But what I can share with you right now today, make the investment if you need to lease up, right? Make the investment now on your paid advertising. That's going to come from your Google ads and managing those. Do not manage Google ads on your own. Okay. You guys need to have a dedicated service provider who monitors the campaigns, the impressions, the call to action on them. Go in on your paid advertising on your platforms of apartments.com. Know what the comps are using and what level of that paid ad they're on with that platform. Check out Zillow, right? So Zillow has some great paid ad platforms. And what I really appreciate about some of the tiers in their platforms is that they link over to social media. That's huge. So if somebody is out there on Zillow and they're searching for apartments in Denton and your property shows up, but they didn't take action on it, but then all of a sudden they flip over to Instagram or Facebook, guess what? All of a sudden, sponsored ads for your property are going to show up through Zillow on their Facebook feed or their Instagram feed. That's huge. Okay. Outreach marketing. Know who your preferred employers are in the market and go out on a weekly basis. That property manager can go out on a weekly basis and visit with those particular preferred employers. Develop those relationships. Okay. It's not a once a month outreach marketing. It's a once a week, right? Just like if you're in sales, you're developing those relationships. You need to develop relationships with your preferred partners. Do you have universities near your property or maybe community colleges, right? How do you get in to have your property advertised or become a preferred provider, right?
Dinesh,
Marketing.
too, sorry, Kelly. Dinesh, that's a great question too, to also ask your property management companies, what are you guys doing in terms of resident retention? Right here at Velo, we have a resident retention agent that will help us monitor and stay engaged with that resident during the time that they're with us. So, we're not shocked. We're reaching out 90, 60, 30 days in advance to understand, hey, what are you going to do? Because resident retention starts at the day they move in. So
even the day before then. That experience has to be dialed in.
Yeah.
Listen, these are great questions and questions that you should be asking your property manager to make sure that they're in line with what, Velo is doing that has made them successful. So listen, we're over time, but I do want to wrap this up. We've heard servant heart. Come at this with a servant heart. Also, trust the process. It's huge. I highly recommend it. I didn't do so well with that when I was a owner operator of my own assets. Keep your eye focused on the staff. Okay. As an operator and obviously as the property manager, get quality of staff. Keep an open dialogue. Okay. Revenue preservation is what we're going to be looking at for the coming year. Resident retention. And, having an experience that your residents are going to say, I want to remain here. It's such a good experience. It means this is my home. And that's what you all want to create, is a home for these folks. So I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you, JC, Kelly, birthday girl, and Anselmo, for staying with us this long. I really appreciate the insight and all the information that you've shared. I encourage our folks here to reach out to you. And if there's anything that we can be doing, let us know to help you with bringing folks over to your company. We're here to partner. Again, it's about a partnership.